Hey everybody, what is going on? It is Rick. It is time to dive into the September reviews. My glasses are dirty, so I'm going to clean those off. So, September reviews. We have 8 movies to talk about for this first week of September. 6 of them are actually on physical media. One was a movie I watched on Netflix, which will be the first thing I talk about in a moment. And the other was a movie that we saw in theaters using Regal Unlimited. We've actually since seen that movie another time. And it comes out on 4K next week, or today, if I'm not mistaken, the day this video drops, October 12th, this movie comes out on 4K. We'll definitely be grabbing a copy of it. We'll talk about that shortly as well. The first title we're going to talk about is a Netflix film, and that is Hes All That. Yes, I watched Hes All That, which was basically a remake of She's All That, the early 2000s, late 90s teen movie with Rachel Lee Cook, Paul Walker, Matthew Lillard. Went in this movie curious about it with incredibly low expectations. I enjoyed the original film the last time I saw it, which was a long time ago. I probably definitely need to give that a rewatch. Excuse me, but it's been a very long time since I've watched She's All That. So, went into this. It stars Addison Rae, who is like TikTok famous, social media famous. Don't really know much about her, so didn't know about her at all as an actress. Also starred Tanner Buchanan, who I know from Cobra Kai. He plays Robbie. Also Peyton Meyer, who was on Girl Meets World, which I did watch because I was a Boy Meets World fan. And Madison Paris, who was the young girl in The Game Plan, which starred The Rock. The movie also stars Rachel Lee Cook and Matthew Lillard, who are in She's All That. But they're playing totally different characters from the original movie, which seemed like a weird choice to me. But the movie heavily depends or ties to TikTok, which is fine. They have to modernize it. And like I said, Addison Rae is incredibly famous on TikTok, so it made sense why they went that direction. There's some eye-rollingly bad dialogue in this movie, but overall it's a mindless modern teen film. It's very predictable, but it's watchable. Nothing fantastic. It's not gonna get any awards, but it's not horrendous. I mean, it's not great, but it's not awful. I give it a 2 out of 5. Once again, nothing horrific here in my opinion. Watchable for sure, but not like a rewatchable film. And, we'll leave it at that. So the next thing we watched, we checked out with RJ. It's a movie that was sent to me from Mill Creek Home Entertainment, a movie I remembered really enjoying when I was younger, and that is For Richer or Poor, which stars Tim Allen and Kirstie Alley. This is a fun movie. This came out in 1996 originally, if I'm not mistaken. 97, I was close. So it's been probably about 20 years since I've seen this. I mean, the movie is now 24 years old. Like I said, enjoyed it quite a bit back in the day. It's a fish out of water story about two, I guess I would call them wealthy New York folks who might be scamming. They might be involved in illegal business practices with the IRS that they're not aware of because they have a shady accountant who's possibly doing stuff with the money. So fish out of water story. Brad and Caroline Sexton, played by Kirstie Alley and Tim Allen, end up going on the run and end up in Amish country. They're taken in by the Yoders and pretend to be their cousins. The couple is struggling and being put in the situation, the Yoders kind of help them see what's important in life and try to help them with their marriage. And Brad and Caroline kind of help the local town with some things. It's a good mix of heart and comedy and holds up for the most part. Some of the dialogue is a little eye-rolling, but it's a fun movie nonetheless. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. RJ, I don't think was a huge fan of it, but I was glad to revisit it because, like I said, I really enjoy the movie. It's a fun watch, and thank you to Mill Creek for sending this over. I was glad to get to revisit this after so long. So the next title we watched was the before mentioned title that we saw in movie theaters using Readle Unlimited. And wait a second. I'm such a dope. We've already talked about this movie. This was the second time I had watched it. It does release today on 4K. But we took RJ and we saw Free Guy, which we both still, Bridget and I both still loved. And RJ really, really enjoyed it. He had a lot of fun with it. Check out RJ's letterbox, Down to Movie Mini. Give him a follow. He writes reviews by himself. Sometimes he'll ask me how to spell a word or like help with a word. But the kid formulates his own reviews. You have to remember he's 11, but I think it's awesome that he does it. The movie holds up on a rewatch. I still really love the third act of the movie. It's very good, very well done, very fun movie. I gave Free Guy a 4 out of 5. Definitely one I would recommend checking out if you have access to it. So the next handful of movies, I want to say Bridget and I, we were just laying low. I think RJ went home early that weekend and we just like put on a bunch of rewatches while we were doing stuff. Like I was listing a bunch of stuff on or she was listing stuff on eBay. I was pricing out stuff on eBay. So we just put on a bunch of like rewatches. So the first one is one I've been wanting to revisit for quite some time. It's a movie I really, really enjoy. Probably one of the better coming of age movies of the last 20 years. And that is a film called The Way, Way Back, with my new slipcover that I recently got from a lot I bought. But a really great coming of age movie that came out probably, let's see, I want to say it came out in 2013, so a little over, about 8 years ago. It stars Steve Carell, Toni Collette, Allison Janney, Anna Sophia Robb, Maya Rudolph, Sam Rockwell, and then the main character is covered up by this Costco sticker. Liam James is the main actor in this movie. So this movie is just so good. I really cannot say enough about it. An all-star cast. In addition to the people I mentioned, Amanda Peet, Rob Corddry, and then everybody I mentioned. Like I said, Sam Rockwell crushes this movie. He really steals it. It was written and directed by Jim Rash and Nat Faxon, who are both in the film. Jim Rash is the dean from Community. Nat Faxon is a comedic actor. Both have very familiar faces that I'm sure you've seen them in. But they're both employees at the water park that the movie takes place in. And like I said, they wrote and directed the film. The movie has a ton of heart, but it's also very funny. Great performances throughout, and a movie I cannot recommend enough. Really a movie that I love so much, and just a fantastic film. I put it right up there with The Edge of 17 as like probably the best coming of age films that don't get enough respect of the last 10 years. So yes, I gave Way, Way Back a 4.5 out of 5. Definitely one I recommend checking out. I don't know why the collar on this shirt is messed up. I've worn this shirt twice. There we go. All right. So the next thing we watched, this movie, fun fact. So this is my Grease collection steelbook. We watched Grease 2, which I know my buddy Joe Martinez is a big fan of. He loves that film. Fun fact, young Rick was a big bowling fan, a big bowler. I was averaging like the 140s at the age of 5. I was really good. My dad owned a bowling alley when I was younger, so I spent a lot of time there. Bowling was something I really loved doing. I grew out of it. But this is a movie that when me and my sister would be over at my grandparents' house, we would watch Grease 2 with my mom, but there was only one scene. So I would watch like the first 20 minutes of it. Then they have the big bowling alley scene where there's the dance number. Let's go, let's score tonight. I forget the song right now. Let's go tonight. We're gonna rock. Yeah. Anyway, so Grease 2, I loved the first 20 minutes and then I stopped watching because I was a young kid, but I just wanted to see the bowling alley scene. So that's what I remember from this movie. So sitting there and watching it, I honestly didn't remember anything else about the film except for the first like 20 minutes of it. But it's an entertaining movie. It does have good music in it. It's just, for me, it doesn't hold a candle to the original Grease, which is such a classic musical. But it is a fun watch. I'm glad I revisited it. Fun to see it with fresh eyes like 25 years later. And I love this Steelbook too. So I give Grease 2 a 2.5 out of 5. Nothing amazing, but a watchable movie. But just, for me, does not hold a candle to the classic Grease. And I haven't watched Grease live there. Not really looking forward to that one. But I love the Steelbook nonetheless. Next, we watched one of my favorite films of all time, this time in beautiful 4K on my awesome 4K Steelbook, and that is National Lampoon's Animal House, a movie that I can quote along with pretty much the entire thing. Probably one of the most quotable comedies ever for me. Something that my dad and I quote all the time. And man, it is just one of those comfort movies. If I'm having a bad day, if I just want something fun to put on in the background, this is that movie. John Belushi is the star of the film, obviously, and his entire, like, he just kills it every time he's on the screen. But the entire cast is really good. Laughs consistently throughout the film. And it's a quintessential college sex comedy. And a movie that I think continues to get passed down from generation to generation. I mean, this movie is now... Does it say what anniversary this is? I want to say this movie is 43 years old. I want to say it came out in 78 if I remember correctly. So it's 43 years old. I will eventually show this movie to my son, and hopefully he shows it to his son. Like, Animal House is classic cinema for me. Like I said, I grew up watching comedies, and this was one of my favorites. So Animal House gets the 5 out of 5. Let's blow it up, put the big 5 out of 5 there. So Animal House, I love it. Cannot say enough about it. A classic comedy for me. Next up, we popped on the unrated version of this movie, which is crazy because the unrated version just has a bunch of like random naked women and like flubbed lines that they kept in, and weird, like, they changed some lines. It's a fun watch because it's 20 minutes longer, and this is just a really fun movie. This came out in like 08 or 09, and that is Sex Drive, which stars people I don't remember their names. Josh Zuckerman is the main kid. Also Clark Duke, Amanda Crew, who was in Silicon Valley, Seth Green, and James Marsden are in this film. So, in my opinion, Seth Green is the absolute highlight of the movie. He steals the show. And this movie offers laughs, gratuitous nudity, which really doesn't happen in films anymore, honestly. And some heart thrown in there too. Like I said, they don't really make R-rated comedies like this with a bunch of like random naked people and just like a strict, like, let's do sex comedy, cursing and naked girls, and the guy is trying to go on a road trip to lose his virginity. Like, that's what this movie is about. And the three leads have really good chemistry: Clark Duke, Amanda Crew, and Josh Zuckerman. And it's just a fun time. Like, I gave Sex Drive a 4 out of 5. Highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. If you're just looking for a fun, mindless, rated R sex comedy, this is a great one to watch. And then the last thing we watched was a first-time watch for me. A movie that's been on my radar probably for like 20 years. I know this is pretty much impossible to find on Blu-ray. It's incredibly out of print. I believe I found this at like I want to say Jupiter Records for $1. My copy has some light scratches, but is in fairly good shape. And that is the movie from 2001? I want to say this was from 2001. But it is the film from Kevin Williamson called Teaching Mrs. Tingle. Teaching Mrs. Tingle, starring Helen Mirren, which is crazy, Katie Holmes, Jeffrey Tambor, Barry Watson, Marissa Coughlan, Liz Stauber, and Vivica A. Fox, as well as Molly Ringwald. So this movie was initially called Killing Mrs. Tingle, fun fact, and then the Columbine shooting happened. They changed it to Teaching Mrs. Tingle, and it was a massive box office bomb. The movie flopped. I believe this was the only film that Kevin Williamson ever directed. If you don't know who Kevin Williamson is by name, Kevin Williamson wrote I Know What You Did Last Summer. He wrote Scream. He wrote The Faculty. He wrote Dawson's Creek. I want to say he did Vampire Diaries and some other shows. Like he's a prolific teen writer of TV and movies. But he directed this, and this thing dropped like a lead balloon at the box office. It was bad. So this movie is only 95 minutes and has a really long opening credits scene that doesn't really do anything. So it's probably only about 85 minutes in reality. And the pacing is pretty brutal in this movie. It is incredibly slow for 95 minutes. So much so that I was nodding off during an 85-minute movie that I've been excited to watch for quite a long time. But I also think in my brain that I had this as like a hard R-rated teen horror movie or like teen horror comedy. Definitely not like that. First off, it's rated PG-13. Second off, not really a horror, not funny, more like a thriller, sort of. So I was expecting something totally different than what this was. The cast is good, and the movie has its moments, but I think the payoff isn't worth it in the movie. The ending is like abrupt and a bit eye-rolling for me. There's some obvious questions that never get answered. So Teaching Mrs. Tingle, I'm glad I've watched it. I give it a 3 out of 5. I don't know if it's going to stay on my shelf because I don't know if I would ever watch this again, honestly. I'll talk to Bridget and see if she wants to keep it on the shelf, but I would guess this does not stay on the shelf. And that is it, guys. That is everything I watched the first week of September. 8 movies, 4 of which were like while we were doing eBay. 4 of them? Yeah, 4 of them. We were doing eBay stuff on a Sunday, had all day, and just wanted to watch a bunch of rewatches. So I'll shift over so I'm in the center again. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Leave comments down below. Let me know what you thought of my reviews. Let me know if you guys have seen any of these movies, what you've been watching. Let me know in the comments down below. Also, be sure to check out the description box, which is down below, where you can find links to my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, where I rate and review all the movies that I watch. Also, my Blu-ray.com profile, eBay store, Amazon wish list, all can be found down below, in addition to my P.O. box and email address. So thank you guys for watching. As always, until next time, who's down to movie?